Hi everyone, it's Paul back for day two of the 2021 Cheltenham Festival. Day one in the book today. Some amazing performances today. Appreciate it. Was incredible. Shishkin out of this world. Obviously, Honeysuckle was just absolutely brilliant in the champion hurdle. And my favourite ride of the day, actually, was that we tipped up Galvin. What a ride that was in the last. Absolute delivered to perfection in the 4 miler. And let's see what we do on day two. Day two starts with the 120, which is the Ballymore Novices hurdle. Grade 1 over 2 mile 5. Small field, only 7. Very strange for the Ballymore, that. But the top three in the market are very, very high class, and it's going to concern them. Honourable mention for Burgills, for Nicky Martin and Matt Griffiths. Obviously, you've got a horse who's 5 for 5 in his career. Got to give him credit for that. And he's definitely improving, and I think he'll be better for the step up and trip. But on all known form, he's got to find about a stone with the front three in the market. And I just don't see him doing it, to be honest with you. Bob Hollinger has been the favourite all I was going to say all winter, he hasn't, but for a large period of it for Henry de Bromhead, Rachel Blackmore, improving with each run, was an easy grade 1 winner on his latest. Loved how he just galloped him into the floor pretty much from the front, and I think this 2 mile 5 with the hill will be perfect for it. This is the longest he's been under rules in terms of a trip, but if you look back, he won his 3 mile point to point, so it won't be an issue at all. Brave Man's Game for Paul Nicholls and Harry Cobden is probably the best of the home team, you would say. 3 for 4 over hurdles, but it was the Challow hurdle win his latest. That was so visually impressive, the way he just ground him into the floor. The form of that has fell apart a bit, though, for me. The Oscar horse in there got pulled up, didn't run his race, and the horse he beat that day, the Glancing Queen, she won a race, a bit of an egg and spoon the next time, but then only came third in a listed race. So in terms of what, you can only beat what's in front of you, but it hasn't exactly been frank since. And that leaves the selection, which is the Willie Mullins, Paul Townend trained second favourite, which is Galia Dumani. Come over from France with some really, really good flat form. Showed a bit of turn of foot, actually. So at the time, I thought, based on his first run, possibly could be a supreme horse. But what has been the making of this is the stepping up and trip. He's got better with each run since coming to the UK, and the step up to 2 mile 6 at Leopardstown in the Grade 1 was his best performance to date. And it was really, really impressive because not only did he keep finding at the end, he showed a great turn of football on the bend coming towards the last flight. And I think on the lightly faster ground, there's nothing between him and Bob Hollinger, but I've just got a feeling this one, given as well Willie Mullins' novices all season have been tremendous, I just think this one might just have a little bit more of a turn of foot, possibly. And might be a bit more value at around 11 to 4 as opposed to Bob Hollinger at 5 to 4. And it literally, there's nothing between it. So he's just shading it for me. 1, 2, 3, then in the Ballymore Novices hurdle, Galia Dumani from Bob Hollinger and Brave Man's Game. Going on to the 155 now, which is the Brown Advisory Novices Chase. It's a grade 1 over 3 miles. And again, very, very small field. It's strange festival this year. I don't know if it's because the owners can't see the horses running. They're thinking, just don't run it. I don't know what the ins and outs are. But it is a very strange festival this year. Has been. Obviously, no crowd there as well is very strange. Honourable mention here for Sporting John, Philip Hobbs and Richard Johnson. It was great to see this horse bounce back to form in the Scilly Isles. Was formerly very top class, but has shown literally nothing for a couple of years. And if you look at the Racing Post, when it says the trainer could not give a reason why it suddenly run well, no reason why. Hasn't run since. If he runs back to that level, he's got a great chance of hitting the frame here. But the problem is one good run doesn't make good form necessarily. So was it a one-off? Who knows? The big breakaway's been towards the head of the market all winter for Colin Tizard and Harry Cobden. And it's understandable. He made his debut in a course and distance race. I actually had heard great words for it all summer, and I tipped it up on the WhatsApp service, and he duly obliged by 10 lengths. Shock was at the next time out in what should have been just a schooling session in public, effectively, at Exeter. He got overturned at 2 to 9, not jumping a fraction as well as he did on debut. On debut, it was one of the best novice debut performances I've ever seen over fences at Cheltenham. He then went to the Corto Star, formerly the Feltham at Kempton on Boxing Day, and came second to Charbleau. Made multiple mistakes, but ran on really well at the end, and it was ultimately a mistake at the last was the final nail in the coffin, but he still ran well to come second and clearly has an engine on it. But even on his best, he's still got a form to find with the favourite, who we'll get onto in a bit, and the jumping errors is a concern. I think the most likely danger to the favourite here is Eclat de Rire, or Rire, Eclat de Rire, I don't know. Henry de Bromhead, Rachel Blackmore, 2 for 2 chasing, including a grade 3 on his latest start. That form's been frank because he beat a horse called Iscari at 10 in that race very comfortably, and that horse ran an absolute belter to come third in the National Hunt Chase today, behind my selection, Galvin, in that one as well. That was a grade 3, so that's a solid piece of form. And this one does seem to be a very, very good stayer. So I think that one is the most likely danger to the, it's got to be said, is the unopposable Monkfish. Willie Mullins again, Paul Townend, unbeaten in all chase starts. And the horse I love, Latest Exhibition, who had tipped up last year, who was unlucky not to beat him, I think, in the Albert Bartlett last year, but has tried to take him on over fences twice and has just been slammed twice. This horse runs, it jumps, it gallops. He's got a turn of foot. He's got absolutely everything in his favour. And I think it's going to take an exceptionally good horse or a fall to suddenly turn this around on Monkfish. I don't think anyone can get near him, to be honest with you. 1, 2, 3 then for the 155, the Brown Advisory Novices Chase, Monkfish from Eclat de Rire and Big Breakaway. Next up, we got the 230, which is the Coral Handicap Hurdle, over 2 mile 5. Always a horror story race. Handicap hurdle with 20-odd runners in it. I could make a case for all of them, so I'm basically picking out 6 here to mention. I've missed out even some really fancied ones, but as I said, you could literally spend all day on this. Starting off with my old friends up at the Martin Keithley Yard, Witness Protection. Martin Keithley trained James Best taking the ride. He's actually managed to get in off 10 stone 1 here, an absolutely featherweight. This horse is a novice who do have a good record in the Coral, actually, to be fair. Has form figures this year of 2-1-2-1. Was really taken by his performance at Chepstow latest. Travelled really well and not particularly great ground. Didn't jump the last well, but managed to pick up again and go on. And to be fair, that was a wonderful performance. Put away for this since. Has managed to sneak in at the bottom. I don't think we know how good this horse is. Is it good enough to hit the frame here? Possibly. Who knows? The percentage call is he won't be good enough. But he's an honest horse, and I think he'll run his race. The money all week has been for Craigniche, for Nicky Henderson. Tom Cannon, it's a bit of a strange booking, usually associated with Alan King. He's taking the ride for Nicky Henderson. He returned in January after more than a year off and won a grade 3 really, really well. My issue there is, he had a long time off. He won a grade 3, which is fine. He's gone up £12 for that. I don't think the bounce factor, as they like to say, is an issue now because they've given him a good 2 months since that run. But it was a taken performance, but £12 hike on the back of that and 1 run now in basically a year and a half. That does temper enthusiasm somewhat. Nicky Henderson's other horse in here is Monte Cristo. Nicky Henderson trained, Daryl Jacob taking the ride. My worry is this one start that he had at the course when he was actually odds on over hurdles last year. He was really disappointing. And the trainer comment was, didn't handle the course. So again, didn't handle the course then, suddenly running here. Bit of a concern. It's a bit like Franco Deport, the one today, which I mentioned today for the Arkle. Run bad last year, didn't handle the course. And for me, didn't handle the course again this year. Sometimes, though, it's a hard one to take, but they just don't take it. Is Monte Cristo one of them? After 1 run, I really don't know. He was better upped in trip this year, but for me, off 11 stone 2, I don't think he's obviously well in. I think he could run well, but unless they found a load of improvement, he's not an obvious one here. Which leads us to the top 3 picks now, starting off with the favourite, actually, which is Grand Droit, formerly of Nicky Henderson, now with Denise Foster. Jack Kennedy taking the ride, has a very, very big weight of 11 stone 6, but he's the class horse of the race. He's already been placed in 2 grade 3s this year and 1 a grade 2. So that is absolutely rock solid form, and his chances there for all to see. My worry is there someone just lurking who is a little bit better handicapped and a bit better value than this one at 5-1. One of them for me could be the Willie Mullins trained third string, it looks like, actually. Dysart Diamond. Willie Mullins trains, Danny Mullins taking the ride. Lovely weight this off 10 stone 8. That is a really nice weight. He's improved throughout. He's consistent and improving throughout all of his career. And in the latest start, a valuable handicap at Leopardstown, I think he would have gone close, but he was practically brought to a standstill 2 out. Now, that 2 out at Leopardstown is an absolute nightmare because it's pretty much on the bend as well. And to be honest, he could just never pick back up after that. As I said, he was brought literally to a grinding halt. I think he was looked after there, and he's come straight here. The form he showed before will put him bang there on this. And at 25-1, I think that this Dysart Diamond won't stay that for long. And I think he's going to go close. But for the win, I'm having a bit of a flyer here on a bit of a course specialist, and that is Botox Has for Gary Moore, with Jamie Moore taking the ride. Obviously, they had that combination, had Goshen today, who just proved that what happened at the Kingwell last time, like we did suspect, it was a one-off. I just think this horse is a bit of a might bite, actually. Clearly got talent, but doesn't always put it all in. But Botox has got a great weight off 10 stone 13, and his course form around Cheltenham is second, first. So he clearly loves the course. He's got a really nice weight. The interesting point is here, he beat over this course a horse called Langadan very, very easily by 6.5 lengths. That horse then pretty much went and won the Imperial at the weekend on the bridle, you might as well say. So I suppose even though that form was a year and a bit ago, it's very, very solid form. Last time out, I think they held him up more than they would have to see if he got this longer trip. He got beaten a reasonable distance, but he ran on okay to be 6th. I think he'll be better at this course. That was a right-handed course. On ground, probably a bit too soft for him here. I think the better ground back at Cheltenham here, and the weight he's got, and there's been consistent money for him. He's currently around 16-1. I'm happy to have a flyer on him in this race. I'm going to do a few of them, actually. Probably Dysart Diamond and Botox Has, because some of the bookmakers are paying top 6, or even, I think Coral are paying top 7 for their own race. So sometimes you just got to go looking for a bit of each way value, and I think those two are really. A 1, 2, 3 then for the 2:30, the Coral Cup, Botox Has from Dysart Diamond and Le Grand Droit. Which brings us on to the feature, which is the 3:05, which is the Queen Mother Champion Chase. It's a grade 1 over 2 miles. And I was watching Classic Champion Chasers last night, and people who have followed me for these 11 years will know that my absolute favourite horse of all time was Flagship Uberalis, an unbelievable winner of the Champion Chase in one of the worst ground conditions I've ever seen. And obviously, sadly, last May, where Flagship Uberalis passed away, it was a horrible day, to be honest with you, when it was there. It was weird. It was like losing a family member. But it is a race that I particularly love. It's close to my heart. And this year, it's lost a bit of the shine because of Altior coming out at the last minute again, second year in a run. But there's still some wonderful horses in here. Chassoon Poursoir, Willie Mullins, Paul Townend. This is an exceptional horse. Everything this horse does just oozes class. He travels, he jumps, he's got a turn of foot, and he's hitting 10-11 even money. The only reason he's that is because he's never won at the course. But for me, he looks like such a well-balanced horse. I don't think that's going to be an issue for him, to be honest with you. The reigning champion Politolog is in here. Paul Nicholls, Harry Cobden, running this race 3 times. Got placed basically twice, and then last year was his year where he won the Champion Chase. Don't get me wrong, I think the race fell apart. No Altior, no Chassoon Poursoir. Defi de Searle completely blotted the copybook there, and there was basically nothing left. he came back with a good win, but was firmly put in his place last time out. And I just think while he'll run okay, I just think at age 10, he won't be necessarily improving. And he would need, again, bad fortune for others to be his good fortune. The percentage call it won't. Noob Negra jumped right towards the head of the betting, it has to be said, when it was a shock when he beat Altior in the Desert Orchid over Christmas. Was Altior fully wound up? No. It was very, very clear he had a hell of a lot of condition on him in that race. I backed him because I thought he was a good price, but when I saw him at the start, I did think they've certainly left a lot to work on. But credit to Noob Negra, he jumped well, he travelled well, pounced well, everything was absolutely fine. My concern is his best form that he's done, even on the likes of Kempton, is all on very, very tight tracks. Don't get me wrong, he run very, very well over hurdles here about 4 years ago. But again, he hit very low price in running and didn't fully get home watching the replay. I'm sure he's a stronger horse now, but I'm just a bit worried that tight tracks seem to be his thing. I think So Royale is overpriced for Alan King, Daryl Jacob. Okay, he completely bombed in this race of last year, but he has been placed in this before. One time he gave me an unbelievable fright on Altior when he came cruising up, but Altior just broke his heart in the end. Was a really, really taking winner last time out. I was really impressed with how he jumped. He's been making great hay as well over hurdles, and he seems to be going through a bit of a renaissance, but quite relatively mid to late on in his career here. I think he'll make the frame, So Royale, and I think he's overpriced. It's 16 to 1 now. Put the Cattle on, Henry de Bromhead, Aidan Coleman taking the ride. Obviously, this horse won the Arkle last year, and she's a very, very, very tough horse, this. Getting weight off them here, obviously being a mare. Won the Schlur Chase with a very, very game effort there as well. And he's 3 from 3 at the course, which goes a long way for me. But even on a very, very best, it's still miles behind Chassoon Poursoir. And I think this one will come second, 9 to 1. It's a good each way bet, or if you're doing a bet without Chassoon Poursoir. But I just think Chassoon has got the chance of being another proper Willie Mullins legend, and just hopefully everything goes to plan tomorrow. 1, 2, 3 for the Queen Mother Champion Chase, Chassoon Poursoir from Put the Kettle On, and So Royale. Which brings us to the 340 now, which is the cross-country chase, Class 2 over 3 mile 6. And this is not a vintage renewal of this race. It's a very tricky race at the best of time, but I don't think this is a particularly good renewal. An honourable mention for one who's a big price, who could run well, but I'm just leaving him out the frame, and that is Out Sam for Denise Foster. Jodie McGarvey taking the ride. Was a very, very distant third in this last year, beaten about 30 lengths, and then came fourth behind a horse who I think will make the frame called Some Neck at Christmas. Giving him a lot of weight in a handicap, actually. He's waited to get closer to that horse there, but I'd like to see him race closer to the pace, ideally, because he just seems to get outpaced and run on at the end. But the problem is, I've looked at the form, and when he's raced closer to the pace, he doesn't run his race, and I think that just puts him in limbo where he'll run on, I think, but he's relying on others' bad fortune again, so he's a bit risky. Some Neck I mentioned before, John McConnell trained, Richard Johnson, very eye-catching booking for this one. Again, he won on it in that handicap over course and distance in December, despite making a lot of mistakes that day. So if he can brush up his jumping, he could seriously put it down to the favourite here. This is obviously tougher because this one isn't a handicap as such, it's off levels, but Richard Johnson's on it. He beat a horse who reopposes that day on the line called Defi Decor. That one is 40 to 1 today, and that's probably overpriced because Some Neck only just about wore it down. But that day, Some Neck was given that horse £9 and they're off levels today. But it was only a head distance, £9. So one horse at around 8 to 1, one around 40. I still think he's done enough to turn the form. But for those who like to have a little play on outsiders, he's a possibility. Tiger Roll, you don't need no introductions. 2-time cross-country chase winner, 2-time Grand National winner, National Hunt Chase winner, Triumph Hurdle winner. He's been there, he's done it, he's seen it all. He's one of the greats, that's for sure. The biggest concern is he has been terrible on both starts. It's got to be said. He got pulled up in as I said, the course and distance chase over this cross country before Christmas, and then came last in the hurdle race, latest. He's not going the Grand National now, so I suppose this is almost his Grand National. But I love the horse. I love the horse. I've backed him in fact, I've backed him every single time at Cheltenham. But sometimes you've got to let your head rule your heart, and the head is saying he just possibly doesn't have it anymore. And there's comments as well saying if he doesn't fire here, we'll retire him and stuff, which suggests he's probably doing okay, but maybe he's not as sparkling as he usually is. The favourites, Easy's Land, Cotan Train, Felix de Giles rides. He is not, he's the most likely winner, but I'm not massively happy with the price he is, but the balance of form is he's the one to do it. Breathtaking winner of this last year, slamming Tiger Roll. The issue I've got now is Tiger Roll then on the decline? So is that form skeptical? Do you know what I mean? Etc. and stuff like that. The other problem I've got is, as well as in that course and distance trial, I call it, in December, odds on, and only came fourth, beaten a very, very long way. That is a big worry for me and hasn't been seen since. But apparently since then, his form at home's been a lot better. He's come on for it. And again, I don't think, based on last year, he would have to be at his best to even win this. And he is the percentage call. One I am putting to make the frame. So this might be worth a 50 pence each way. And some bookmakers paying top four as well. King's Temptation at 100-1. And you're going to think I'm crazy, but bear with me. Ben Case trains, Brian Carver takes the ride. This horse last summer has made hay all summer and early part of the season, being a big, bold front runner, running, galloping, staying. And that's all he did all summer. He had one poor run where they blamed the gluey ground in which it was, which is fine. But that's fine. But my concern, well, a concern, but it could be our benefit, unless I'm going completely off my head here, is the form in that course and distance race where Some Neck won and Easy's Land came fourth. King's Temptation that day came sixth on his first attempt at the cross-country course. And if you look at the comments, there was no glaring mistakes. It was cautious, running on very well, it says, at the end, and came sixth. He only finished, he was getting weight off him, 4 lengths behind Easy's Land that day. But the biggest thing for me was they anchored him in last place throughout. You've got a horse who made 4 wins on the bounce, front running or racing prominence, suddenly anchored out the back. For me, they were just making sure he got a good first experience over the fences. I think they wanted to give him a good sight at it, let him pop around in his old time, and just see, does he take to it? And for me, he did. And the way he came up the hill that day suggests the trip wasn't a problem and the course wasn't a problem. I've got a feeling they're going to ride him a lot more prominent today. And seriously, at 100-1, I think there's worse horses in there. I've just got a sneaky feeling he might hit the frame. But for me, it's Easy's Land. He is the class horse. He should be winning this. And it's hard to make a credible reason to say, no, I don't think he's going to win, really. 1, 2, 3 then for the cross-country chase. Easy's Land from Some Neck and King's Temptation. 4:15 next, which is the Grand Annual Handicap Chase, Grade 3 over 2 mile. It's not a race I like. There's so many handicap plots and swizzers in this. It's hard to know what to make of it. Honourable mention, which didn't make the frame, is actually the favourite, Embittered, for Joseph O'Brien and Rachel Blackmore. Came third in the county hurdle last year, ran a really solid race, and gone chasing this season. It's hard to know what to make of the form because he's just been getting smashed by good horses in better races all year. So how good he is, I don't know. And is 11 stone his weight? Is that a good mark? He could be thrown in because this is a lot weaker race, but it's hard to know because he was beaten such a long way. So rather than take 9-2 on him at the moment, I'm happy to leave him out. One horse who would have made the frame if it was a bit softer would have been Iblio for Venetia Williams and Charlie Deutsch. Fast improving horse this all season. He was second over course and distance to Sky Pirate, who I really fancy in this to go close earlier in the season. And he's actually waited to turn the form around on that horse. The concern I've got is his best form is on heavy and his next best form is on soft. And unless there's a deluge of rain, I think we're looking at good to soft. And he's been actually taken out when the ground's been like that. So that is the only thing that slightly tempers me enthusiasm. Chosen mate, Denise Foster, young Jordan Gainford, who's a very, very good £7 claimer here, takes the ride. He won this race last year, and bar one win since then, has run terribly in 5 races since. As such, his actual winning mark is only actually £8 higher than what it was last year. But with younger Jordan taking £7 off, he's technically only £1 higher. I think they've been plotting this race, I think, and that's why he's been not run in the same manner here in 5 of his 6 runs since. And I think they've just been making sure he didn't get weighted out of it. They put a good claimer on it. I think it's hard to win back-to-back renewals of the Grand Annual, but I think he's going to go close. Sky Pirate, John Joe O'Neill, Nick Schofield taking the ride. They found the key, it seems, finally, on this, and it's going back to 2 Mile. Those who follow me on the WhatsApp service will remember when they put him back to 2 Mile, I said at the time, I think he was my nap of the year, and I said, he's a huge price, he needs 2 Mile, and he obliged. And since then, he's been making hay. He didn't seem to like, and I don't know if All Mankind took him out of his comfort zone latest, but for me, he was better with more horses in the field, and I think he'll be better because he's such a good traveller in this bigger field, and he has waited to go bang there, and over 2 Mile, I don't think he's finished improving yet. But for the win, I'm going for a horse who has an almost form line through this, which is Zanza for Philip Hobbs and Richard Johnson. He actually fell over course and distance behind Sky Pirate in that race 3 out and was absolutely cruising. Now, I obviously was delighted that day Sky Pirate won, but I was panicking at that downhill fence 3 out because I thought, oh God, who's that there? He's absolutely motoring. That day as well, he was giving Sky Pirate £11. But then since then, Sky Pirate's gone on a bit of a run, and now that horse is giving Zanza £7. So it's effectively an £18 pull in the race. The concern, Zanza hasn't been seen since, but apparently didn't even miss any work after the fall. It was soft ground that day, so maybe just jarred him up a bit, and they've been keeping him fresh for this. Richard Johnson, I love him in these big fields because you'll often need a power pack finish, and you can guarantee you'll get that. And I think at around 9-1, Zanza is a great potential each way bet here with a great chance of winning. 1, 2, 3 then for the 4:15, the Grand Annual. Zanza from Sky Pirate and Chosen Mate. Which brings us on to the last race of day 2, which is the 4:50, which is the Champion Bumper flat race. Group 1 over 2 miles. And I've got a feeling here that this is going to be the Willie Mullins show. I might be wrong, but my 1, 2, 3 that came out inevitably all end up that they're with Willie Mullins, who has the best record in this race. Honourable mention for the Denise Foster trained 3 Stripe Life. Jack Kennedy taking the ride. 1 for 1. But horses who have run once coming into the Champion Bumper, have a look. They have a really, really good record. So maybe they just fly under the radar and they keep him for that. What was interesting was he was actually odds on for his debut that day, backed into odds on, and duly obliged. Didn't beat anything of note looking at the form, but did it really, really well. He could be anything, but I love solid form. And for me, he hasn't got it yet. He could win, but he hasn't got it. 1 for the frame. Obviously, Willie Mullins has got a boatload in here. I think he's got 5 or 6. Ramillies for Willie Mullins. Brian Cooper taking the ride. This horse won really, really well on his reappearance, and I put him straight in the notebook saying, Champion Bumper horse, possibly, early on from that. The next time out, he was actually relatively fancied behind the favourite here, which is Kilcrit for Willie Mullins, and was only 4-1 to that 1, 6-4. So they couldn't say, oh, he's miles ahead of him. They quite fancied it. He absolutely cruised to 2 out and just stopped dead. I don't know if there was a problem. I've looked on all the feedback, comments after the race, and there was no reason given. He's been given time off since, and if he jumps back to the form of that debut appearance, he could certainly hit the frame. The favourite is Kilcrit, Willie Mullins, Paul Townend, and understandably so. Nothing's, this season at least, managed to get him off the bridle properly. He did get beaten a bumper when he first came over from France when trained by the other Mullins, but has been brilliant for Willie Mullins since. 2 for 2. Cruising speed is absolutely massive. Clearly has an engine and is an understandable favourite. However, I am going for Sir Gerhardt as the number 1 pick. Was formerly trained at another yard, and then obviously 2 weeks ago, Willie Mullins basically got given the horse by Cheveley Park. One thing that I have read and found out, the horse's diet hasn't changed. The hay that they have hasn't changed. The bedding hasn't changed for when he moved horses. So all he's done is move yard. He moved over to Cheltenham in plenty of time and has settled in well here. This is virtually identical to Kilcrit in that he's 2 for 2 this season and was also unbeaten in a point. So this horse has clearly got speed and it's got stamina. And what I liked was the turn of foot last time out between 3 furlongs out and 2 furlongs out, put the race to bed. It was really, really impressive. Cheveley Park, they spend good money on good horses. We've seen it over the festival in recent years. Allaho, Aplutar, Envoy Allen, obviously. And I think Sir Gerhardt could be right up there with him. He cost a pretty penny. He's got the form in the book. And even though if you look at the ratings, there's nothing between the top 2. With Kilcrit currently around 5 to 4, Sir Gerhardt 11 to 4, actually, at the moment with Betfred. I just think he could be a little bit more value. And I do think as well, looking at the breeding, slightly better ground maybe in his favour. But I'm going for a Willie Mullins route in the last one here. All Mullins trained. 1, 2, 3. Sir Gerhardt from Kilcrit and Ramillies. Good luck on day 2, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video for day 1. And let us know how you guys are getting on. Take care. Cheers.